everyone, welcome back to Grable Studios. Thank you for watching. Today we have a class taught by Bob Vogel of Hardwoods of Michigan. I truly hope you guys are enjoying my content, and I hope you learned something from all of this. That's why I'm sharing this with all of you. I want you all to learn something about me, about others. I'm looking to inspire and hopefully meet a bunch of other artists out there. Where's my glue? Ba-doom, ba-bing. Gotta go watch a lumber grading class now real quick.
Maybe not if you're buying it for a cookout. So depending on what scale you buy this, you should know at least some of the basics of how to grade and the values behind with hardwood lumber. The hardwood lumber industry is governed by an association that's called the NHLA, the National Hardwood Lumbermen's Association. And they teach a course in grading lumber because most lumber manufacturing plants need people that can grade the lumber, in the process. If you signed up for this course at the NHLA, it's in Memphis, Tennessee, and it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 months. I'm going to try to teach you a lot of it in 2 hours. So I'm glad to see you're all eating some lunch and getting some fuel because and I will ask for introductions, but this young fellow here asked me earlier, he said, I think I've seen you teach this class before. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you remember, but it's awfully hard to teach this class because it's boring stuff. And if you get lost anywhere in here, you're lost the whole time. And I can't ever tell unless you're raising your hand and asking me whether you're lost or not. So don't be shy at all, and hopefully by the time we're done here today, nobody's being shy. This is nothing you're going to be able to walk away from here and say, I know how to grade hardwood lumber. Hopefully you're able to walk away from here and say, I know where to find the information and I know the basics of it on hardwood lumber. So I want to go around just so kind of get to know everybody, and let's start here. If you want to let me know your name.
All right, I'm Jeff Davis, and I'm here to learn wood design and all that kind of stuff. But I also make guitars as a hobby, and I've been doing that for about 5 years. And yeah, lumber grading would be great because I don't know what to ask for when I go into a real lumber place.
Yeah,
so that'd be great.
Yeah, and that's a good point that Jeff is making. If you go into Lowe's or Home Depot or any place, and don't get me wrong, these are where most people get lumber, but they sell their lumber under proprietary grades. They say this is our best board and it costs $300 or whatever that it is they charge now. This is all proprietary. But if you go into a wholesaler of lumber, you at least have to know the language and what it means if I say I want an FAS board, because that guy will understand it. You probably better understand it if you're going to pay for it. So it's good reference there. And you?
Eddie Grable. I did 10 years in the Marines, and I live in Marshall, and I came to this school just wanting to learn more about making stuff out of wood.
Mm-hmm. As a hobby, you think, or as a career?
Well, I was looking at it just to make me more well-rounded in my skills, because I learned a few skills in the Woodworking Warriors course they had here.
Okay.
And I'm looking to advance that even further and see what I can do with it.
Okay, well good. Good, thank you.
My name is Ethan Landrix. I'm here just to follow my craft to the best of my abilities that I can in the year that I'm here. And I'm going to learn more about the foundation, kind of the start of the process of furniture building.
Okay, yeah, good.
Eric, I'm an ex-techie guy, I guess. Did that for like 30 years, and just want to work with my hands, build stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I know I'm going to make my own stuff at least, if I make more.
one of the things that's great about this course. You know, you can do several different things with it. There's people here that will take it, you know, maybe some of the younger people will take it onto a career, and maybe big careers in this, you know, manufacturing of furniture or cabinets or, you know, whatever. Or it could be, I just want to be able to do this really well to teach my grandkids or something like that. There's just so many things. It's what's kind of cool about this size class and the knowledge you guys get from this. So, yeah, thanks. Yep.
I'm Zachary. I am here to improve my skills.
Okay.
From the, especially from the hand tool side of it. I've been doing power tool woodworking for a while, but those little fine details with the hand tools are.
I was said that to Noah when I came in here. If you guys can cut compound dovetails by hand, you can understand this course. So. It's a lot easier than that. So, yeah. And you?
My name is Armando. Come from the ag industry, kind of switched career paths. Not a whole lot of experience woodworking, so I'm just kind of trying to learn more of the craft, hand tools, machine tools, potentially new career.
Joanne. I'm retired of teaching after 40 years and decided I'd like to make furniture. And I came with no experience. I never even used a power tool. So I'm very happy that we've made a cabinet already, and everyone's been really helpful as far as trying to help me because I'm a super beginner. Okay. So it's just, for me, it's a hobby. I want to make a few things. And I work with an organization in Augusta, Georgia, down south, that makes beds for families, and so they always need furniture, so I would just like to be able to make maybe like 2 pieces a year to donate. And that's kind of my goal.
Good. Sure.
Joshua Lutz. I lifelong technologist. I retired from the medical imaging software industry and want to make stuff that lasts. And so here I am.
That's good. And a brief story on that, as everybody was talking, kind of the same things that got me interested in, not so much in the lumber industry part of it, but I actually went to a vocational school in high school, and then I majored in industrial education, and basically another word for woodworking, or as a shop teacher type of thing. And I kind of got that as an idea of what I wanted to do for my grandfather. My grandfather was a stonemason, came here from Germany, and was, you know, to say he was a stonemason is not doing him justice. He was an artist, and I worked a lot with him on it. And just what you said, he always told me, what we're trying to do here is build something that will last way past us, and something that when somebody else looks at it, they're going to say, hey, that guy knew what he was doing. And that's, I think, what a lot of us got in here for. I never achieved what my grandpa did, but it did kind of drive me. So.
What's a stonemason?
What's that?
What's a stonemason?
What is a stonemason? Yeah, I actually built, you know, the same thing you would build with any concrete now, or blocks or whatever. They build out of stones. Houses primarily, but, you know, fencing. I think porches. He did a lot of porches and stuff. Actually, he did a lot of this in the Depression, and he did a lot of it for communities because, for whatever reason, in those times, people didn't have any money, but the government still had some money, so they hired him. He was actually did a lot of it and did very well. He was able to retire pretty young because he was able to work at so many government-funded projects. So yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. It's, yeah. Lady? Yeah.
I'm Keegan.
Okay.
I'm from Boston. I came out here I have a couple years in architectural millwork and like built-ins, cabinetry, things like that. But I am out here, and as more and more as we progress through, I'm kind of realizing that like this course is an investment in myself as like an independent woodworker, and as opposed to just like an employee that works with wood. which, you know, is also probably what I'll do for a bit. But, yeah, so I'm excited to learn about some of this, like, lumber grading, because it's one thing to unload the truck with my boss and make the thing, but it's another to kind of know the process of purchasing, and if I want my own business one day, or if I want to be, like, really independent in that regard, I'm the one who's going to be making those decisions. So every new thing I'm learning here is, like, adding to the mental inventory of what I can, you know, use to establish myself.
Good.
I'm Ronnie, I'm from Southern Indiana.
Okay.
I started working earlier this year,
Okay.
and knew nothing about it. I kind of always been intrigued by furniture and the way, you know, people can make objects that, I mean, there's some fascinating shapes that you can create and all that. Anyway, oh yeah, I was always drawn to it, so I decided that I should try to make it a career.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here.
Good. Good.
It's been really fun learning with hand tools, especially. I used my first machine tools here too. So it's kind of scary at first. Yeah, it's been great so far. We're doing a lot.
Good. Good. Sounds like we got a lot of newcomers to the woodworking, and that's great. I mean, it's got to start someplace, and this is a good place to start for sure. And I was going to ask Zach, because anything that you want, you know, as far as to emphasize any of the things that you have. I spent, you know, this will be like my 45th year in the hardwood lumber industry. So I know a little bit about grading lumber. I know a little bit about most of all the rest of hardwood lumber, the processes and that type of thing. So if there's questions you have, I noticed when I got here, Zach had some illustrations of gluing up boards for a panel and in which direction and stuff. And we started talking about the stress in lumber. Anything like that that you want me to emphasize, or any questions you guys have on hardwood lumber, hopefully I'll be able to answer it. The company that I had here in Michigan, I sold in 2013 to a Canadian, a public company. At that time we had about 250 employees, and we shipped a little over 2 million board feet of lumber a month. So it was a pretty good sized company, and just a lot of hardwood lumber. I've spent a lot of time in the hardwood lumber industry, so hopefully it can be helpful to you. So what is hardwood? You know, a lot of you are new to it. You can start right at the basic. What is hardwood lumber?
It's hard.
It's hard.
And it's lumber.
And it's lumber, okay. We're zeroing in on it. We're zeroing in on it. Usually when we talk about lumber, we just put it into two classifications. It's either a softwood or it's a hardwood. And I'm sure most of you have heard that in the past, but most of what you're going to deal with here, I don't think, Zach, they don't get much into any softwood lumber here, do you?
Drawer construction.
Drawer side stuff, and
That's about it.
yeah. But most of it's with the hardwoods, yeah.
Is pine.
Pine's a softwood thing?
Pine is a softwood, that's correct. So if you look around here, this is a very wooded area, and most everything that you see here that I'm aware of, or that I see, is a hardwood, species. Anybody ever heard hardwoods called deciduous?
Mm-hmm. Eastern deciduous. And
yeah. And the deciduous, by definition, means ever-changing. That's, if you look up deciduous in the dictionary. And that's how they classify hardwoods. When you think about it, it's like ever-changing. Well, I look out the window here, I see one of the maples out there is changing. It's changing color. And a month from now, these trees will change a lot. They'll all be in full of color, or the leaves will be on the ground. In the winter, they'll all be bare. Springtime, they'll bud out, they'll get leaves again. All summer long, those leaves will grow. It's ever changing. They're deciduous trees. They lose their leaves every year. Softwoods, for the most part, there's always exceptions to things, but for the most part, softwoods are evergreen. You've probably heard that term before. Pine. And you know, there are, of course, other softwoods, but that's the distinction between the two. The class that I taught on Tuesday said, well, one's harder than the other. Not necessarily. You know, there's some very dense softwoods and there's some very porous hardwoods. That's the definition of a hardwood, is that it's a deciduous tree. So what are the uses of softwood versus hardwoods?
Usually construction.
Yep.
Mostly construction.
Yep. So I think probably the easiest way to look at this or think about it is in building a house. So when you're going to frame out a house, you're using 2x4s, you're using 2x6s, you're using 2x10s. Those are usually softwoods that you're using. And they're dimensioned lumber, they're dimensioned to 2x4 and so forth. Kind of, yes. You're going to draw me into the whole nominal versus the word. We're going to avoid all that. So that's the way to think about it. And also, a lot of it today is sheet goods, plywood. And for the most part, a lot of the plywood is made from softwoods. It's, you know, layers of it. But then you get into, you got the whole house framed out. You got the deck on for the first level, and you've got the studs up, and you've got the roof on there, and you might even have it shingled. You know, but now, what goes inside that? Pardon?
Flooring.
Got flooring, yeah, that's usually out of the hardwood. Furniture.
Cabinets.
You got cabinets, you got moldings, you got case goods. That stuff, the interior stuff, is generally the hardwoods. And the hardwoods, you know, all of you have, you know, I saw you had some cherry there, there's some walnut, I think that was ash that I walked by there. So you're used to those kind of hardwoods, but what are some of the other kind of hardwoods that? Hickory.
Oak.
Oak.
Maple.
Maples, right? Yep.
Birch.
Birch is, a lot of people would say, no, birch is too soft. No, it's a hardwood, it's deciduous. There's several different kinds, beech, poplar, yep. So you guys, elm, definitely. So you guys kind of got those down, walnut, cherry, you know. I'm sorry? Sassafras, yeah. Can you tell the sassafras tree when you see them? No?
When I smell it.
Yeah, you can smell them when you saw them. Trust me, it'll make your sawmill smell like root beer for a week. But yeah. Those are the hardwoods. Now, just kind of something that's kind of interesting. You mentioned birch, and birch is a hardwood. There's a lot of different kinds of birches, but we usually group it as birch. There's yellow birch, there's paper birch, you know. Probably the best example of that would be the oaks. I think this gentleman here said oaks. We tend to group all oaks as being either white oak or red oak. So, you know, any tree that we look at, when I look out the window and I say, yeah, that's a black oak, so we're going to throw that in with the red oak, and I see there's a leaf bark white oak out there, I'll throw that in with the white oak. There are 52 different species of oak that grow in the state of Michigan. And we just say they're either white or red. And it's kind of the same with most of them. You know, in hickory, you have pignut hickory or you have shagbark hickory. And, you know, yep.
I know there's soft maple and hard maple. Is that like softwood maple?
Nope.
Okay, it's all.
Yeah, that's a good example there. Hard maple is a little bit denser than soft maple. And again, there are a lot of different maples, and we tend to group them as hard or soft. Hard maple is a little denser. They're usually about the same color, the lumber. And we'll get into uses of the other stuff. Most of the stuff, like what I'm knocking on here, butcher blocks or industrial counters like this are hard maple just because of the density, and they don't, it's hard to put dings in them type of stuff. But a lot of cabinetry in soft maple. And it's not a lot softer. The reason that it is in cabinetry is it's a little cheaper. And the reason it's a little cheaper is it's a little bit more plentiful, and it has more defects. You know, you get into some hard maple and you see it in flooring once in a while. It's just, you know, this white in color and just clear and just beautiful. Soft maple very seldom is that white, but also will get some streaks and spots and that kind of stuff in it. But, yeah.
Do you know if ours is soft or hard?
Do I know what?
Is the maple that we have here soft or hard?
I believe it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. Good questions though. So that's kind of what hardwoods are, and then, you know, how we use them. This organization that governs the hardwood lumber industry, the NHLA, started back in the late 1800s, actually. I think it was I got it written down here, 1898. So if you think back, you know, what would that be, 125 years ago? And, you know, we're talking about my grandfather being a stonemason. That same grandfather built a beautiful stone house here in Michigan, and he always bragged about it that he bought the lumber. It came in on wagons, you know, because it would have been, I mean, there were cars at that time, truck, but very few people had them, but came in on wagons. So can you imagine that if you ordered a wagon load of lumber, what would you order? You know, call up somebody and say, I want a wagon load of lumber. Okay, I'll send you a wagon load of lumber. Can you be a little more specific? You know, well, I'm going to build cabinets out of it. Well, you know, we can send you a wagon load. Hopefully you'll get some cabinets out of it. There became a real need as the country was being built up to regulate the business and say, okay, if you're going to build architectural millwork, architectural moldings, you need clear lumber, and you need long, clear lumber. So we are going to start grading lumber that corresponds with what it is you're building. And we're going to make it universal across the country so that if I call a guy and say I want a wagon load of lumber, we can talk beyond that, and I'll know whether I'm getting what I ordered and, you know, and what I paid for it. So that was the need for it. And the kind of the cool thing about that is 125 years ago, and other than some very subtle changes, the grading rules are the same as they were back then. Think about anything else that's been regulated as to how often it gets changed, and you know, compared to this, they either got it really close to being right, or nobody's cared enough to change it in the last 125 years. But that's how it all got started. You know, any questions or comments or yeah?
How is it? You said changing it only a few ways.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into that a little bit. That because of the different uses in the upper grades of lumber, and I'm gonna, like I say, this will make a little more sense to you. For the most part, lumber is graded from its worst face. And when we're grading lumber today, the first thing you're going to want to look for is which is the bad side. That's 80% of it. There is a grade that has changed since then that it can be graded on the worst, or on the best face, as long as the back face is of a certain quality. That's one of the few changes.
Bad means damage or something, like chips?
What's that now?
The bad side would be like less pretty, or
have knots in it, or wane, or some type of defect. Yeah. And it makes some sense because there's a lot of applications, you know, some of the millwork stuff, moldings, gets nailed to a wall, you don't see the back of it. You know, you want to look at the pretty face, well, let's grade it from the pretty face. Just a few changes though, that are like that. So let's talk about what the lumber grades are. And again, you guys are getting a 2-hour version of this, so don't ask me anything too complicated. We're talking about lumber, so it's in this type of form. There are grading rules on trees, standing, so like we could go out and grade each one of these trees, and then there are grading rules for when those trees have been cut and they're laying on the ground in the form of a log. So there's grading rules for trees, grading rules for logs, and then grading rules for lumber. So, good question. Within lumber like this, the highest grade of lumber is, and I always tell classes this, keep in mind that us as lumbermen, we're not the sharpest guys in the world. So these have names that show just how smart we are. The highest grade of lumber is FAS, first and seconds. The next highest grade, or within this, is F1F, first one face. And then there is a grade of lumber that you guys are going to ask a lot of questions about, and I'm going to avoid it. But in the upper grade part, there is a grade called selects. So all of these three, so these are referred to as uppers. Again, we're not real sharp, but so they're the uppers. The next grade down is one common. And then the next grade down is two common. Now, if you buy an NHLA grading book and you sit around and study it, first of all, I feel sorry for you. Second of all, you're going to see that they start breaking these down even further. There's a 2A common, there's a 2B common, there's a 3 common, and you don't need to know a thing about them. These will cover what we, and if this doesn't make sense, we'll keep going back over it because that's the very first thing you need to do when you're grading lumber. So surface measure is width of the board in inches times the length of the board in feet divided by 12. I think that, well, I think also just visualize in your mind how many trees are 8 foot wide. They're not. They're 60 feet tall in length, but you know, they're 2 foot wide. So width. So given that formula, and I know a lot of you know, especially the tech people are saying, well, this isn't the way I figure surface measure. This is the easiest way to figure surface measure. So 5 inches, if the board's 5 inches wide, width in inches, times the length in feet, divided by 12. What's the surface measure of that board? It's pretty easy.
5 more feet.
Yeah, no?
No, 5.
5 feet is surface measure.
Yeah, surface measure.
Yeah.
That's right, because we don't know what thickness.
Everybody there on that one? 12 footers, it's easy to figure the surface measure, however wide it is. And by the way, that width can be in fractions of an inch, quarter inches. That's because you're, in most cases, or not in most cases, in all cases with softwood, they're going on the nominal. If you buy lumber from a lumber manufacturer, they don't do it on nominal. It's full width stuff. If you go to Lowe's and say, I want a 1x6, 4 foot long cherry board, theirs will be in nominal. For Armstrong, it'll be full width.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys were able to take away some good information from what Bob had to say. Tune in next time when we continue making our toolboxes. Me love you long time, and God bless.